Dear students, I welcome you all to this new video lesson, the last in the e-learning series of the chapter recursion. Here we will be discussing the practical aspects of recursion, and we will be comparing the programming approach of the programs that we have discussed in the earlier video lessons, and we will compare the approaches of iteration and the recursion of the same programs. Okay. So in iteration we will be considering that the program will be made using your knowledge of class 11th. That means the programs will be without function, whereas in recursion we will be using functions. Okay, so let's start with the first program. The first program is to find the sum of first n natural numbers. Okay, so you can see the two approaches. The first one is without using recursion and another is with recursion. So sum of n natural numbers can be broken in recursion form. That means if you want to find the sum of n natural numbers, then it can be represented as n plus recursion sum of n minus 1 terms. Okay, so if you want to add 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot up to n, then you can represent the same as in this line, n plus addition of numbers up to n minus 1. So this is the recursion step, and the base step, that is, if the value of n is less than equal to 1, the sum will be written n. The value of n, that will be 1, so we will be returning 1. So we are adding the terms from 1 to n. This summation of series can be represented as in the form of recursion. So the recursive case is n plus sum of n minus 1 terms. Okay, so that's how we can sum the first n natural number. In the iteration approach, it is very simple. We have used a while loop from n to 1, and we have added the numbers using summation of series approach, and at the end we have printed the sum. And the same question is in the second frame. You can see the recursive approach. Okay, so as we have seen that in recursion approach, it displays the mathematical idea behind that question. So this recursive line displays the basic mathematical idea of this problem. That is, a sum of n natural numbers can be represented as equal like n plus sum of n minus 1 terms. So again, this sum of n minus 1 terms will be broken as n minus 1 plus sum of n minus 2 terms. Then again it will be broken as n minus 2 plus sum of n minus 3 terms. So in this order we will be decreasing the number of n, and at last we will be reaching to a point where the value of n will be 1, and at that point we will be returning n, that is 1. Okay, and after that the process will start going up. The frames that have been created will be executed one by one, and we will be fetching those values starting from 1. Then it will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus dot up to n. So at the end of the program we will be getting the sum of n natural numbers. Okay, so this is the difference between the two approaches. Let's move to the next program, that is finding the factorial of an integer. You have done it without recursion in class 11th. That approach has been displayed here in the first frame. You can see you have entered the number, then you will check for it being negative or 0, and then you will go for the positive case, and then you will apply a loop from 1 to n plus 1, number plus 1, because the range function goes length minus 1. That's why we have to write this num plus 1. Okay, then only the loop will move up to num. Then we have just written factorial into I. We have used that multiplication series logic here, and we have printed the factorial. I think you should remember this program that you have already done in class 11, but the same can be done in the recursive method. The base logic is same, just we have put the recursion call of that factorial here, and in the body we have two cases. One is base case, that is whenever we reach to the a number called 1, we will return the value 1. Okay, so the factorial of 1 is 1. So this is the base case. And what is the recursive case? That will display the mathematical logic behind it. So we can say that factorial of n is equal to n into factorial of n minus 1. So this is the mathematical logic behind this question. So this mathematical logic becomes the recursive case, and the base case is this. So we will break. Suppose we are working with 5 factorial, then we will represent 5 factorial is equal to 5 into 4 factorial. Then we go to 4 factorial, that will be represented as 4 into 3 factorial. Then 3 factorial will be represented as 3 into 2 factorial. Then 2 factorial, we will tell it 2 into factorial of 1. So as soon as the number that n reaches 1, we will return 1, and then it will be a case like 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, and we will get 120 as answer. This thing has been discussed in the visual example in the previous video lesson. Okay, so this is the difference between the two approaches of getting the factorial of an integer. Okay, in recursion you must know two cases. One is the base case, from where the program will start returning backwards, and the recursive case that will represent the actual mathematical logic behind the problem. Okay, let's move forward. Now the third problem, x to the power n. Program to find x to the power n, it is a power of a number. First you will input the base and exponent, the number for which you have to get the power and the exponent part, and then in the iteration approach you will run a loop, and you will take a variable called power that is having value 1, because it will be a multiplication series, and you will run a loop, for loop in the range of 1 plus exponent plus 1, and you will get the same as you have done in factorial, but this here in the factorial question, here it was I. Okay, and now in this power question, here is the base, that is number that you want to raise to the power of. So this is the basic difference between a program of x to the power n and factorial. Okay, just see the difference. Here factorial is equal to factorial into I, whereas in power is equal to power into number, because you have to calculate x to the power n, and x to the power n is equal to x into x into x n times. That's why the same number is to be multiplied n times. That's why here we write the number, but in the factorial one we write I, because factorial of 5 is equal to 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, because the numbers are decreasing, but here the numbers remain the same. That's why we put the number here. But in the recursive approach, input is same, but we have to write just a power function call, and in the call we have two cases. First case is the base case, that means if the power is of any number is 1, then we will return the number itself. Okay, so x to the power 1 is always x, so that's why we have written the base. Otherwise we come to the recursive case. So x to the power n can be written as x into x to the power n minus 1. So this is the recursive case. Okay, so x to the power n can be represented in its own terms. The problem can be broken into its own terms. That's why we can use recursion here. So x to the power n is equal to x into x to the power n minus 1. Again, x to the power n minus 1 is equal to x into x to the power n minus 2. And that's how you keep on creating the memory frames, function calls, and at the end you reached x to the power 1, and then you start moving backwards and you reach the solution of that problem. Okay, let's move to the next problem. This is the problem to find the GCD or SCF, okay, greatest common divisor between two numbers. So you have done it in class 11th. So in the basic approach, using iteration, you input two numbers, you check for the smaller one, and then you try to get the GCD by taking the mod. Okay. Here in this recursive approach, you just give a call to that GCD function, which will return the actual GCD. And here you have base two cases. One is base case, another is recursive case. So base case is if the B divider is 0, then you should return A as the GCD. Otherwise, you should go for the number divided by its modulus. So this is the basic mathematical idea in finding SCF or GCD. What you do is you just divide the numbers, you find out the remainder, and then you again divide that number with the remainder. So this remainder portion will divide this number again, and this process will continue up to you reach up to 0. Okay, so this is the base case and this is the recursive case. So this problem is very much clear to you. Good. Now we move to the Fibonacci series problem. You have done the problem of Fibonacci series in class 11th using iteration. So in Fibonacci series, what is the rule? The third term is equal to addition of first two terms. Okay. So here you can see the recursive case. The third term is equal to sum of previous two terms, n minus 1 and n minus 2. So the term n is equal to sum of previous terms, means n minus 1 term and n minus 2 term. Rest of the input is same. You have to enter the number of terms. You take the first and second is like 0 and 1, and you run a loop, and then you calculate the third value, that is equal to the sum of first two values, that is third is equal to first plus second. So in iterative approach, this line in the while loop gives you the basic idea of this Fibonacci series, third is equal to first plus second, whereas in this iterative approach you have to again call that recursion function of Fibonacci series with values n minus 1 and n minus 2. The input is same. Okay, so this is how you generate the Fibonacci series using recursion and iteration. Okay, try to understand the difference. In recursion, you have to apply the approach of function, because recursion is generated from the function. Okay, without function you cannot write a recursive code, and in a proper recursive code you must have a base case and a recursive case, because there must be finite number of terms in a recursion question. Otherwise it will reach up to infinity and your system will crash saying that maximum limit reached for recursion. Okay, so this is the question of Fibonacci series. Now we come to the binary search. This is the question, new thing for you. So let's first understand the approach of binary search. So what is the approach of binary search? First, its requirements. It must have the given list in sorted form. It can be either ascending or descending. Here in our example we have taken as ascending order, that you can take descending order also, but by just changing the sign of the comparisons. And the second thing, the size of the list must be known, that is we can calculate it by the length function. Okay, so if you have a sorted list, then it is okay to search in binary search method. Otherwise you have to sort that list first using selection sort or bubble sort or insertion sort. Okay, so binary search approach is only applicable if the list is sorted. And what is the approach? If you can correlate this binary search approach with searching of a page in your book. Suppose you have a book having 500 pages and your teacher asks you to open page number 192. Okay, so if you try to reach that at 192 page using sequential search or linear search, you have to go through starting from page number 1, 2, 3, 4 dot 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 and up to 192. So it will take you 192 comparisons to reach that page. Okay, but if you apply this binary search approach, what we will do is we will just make the 500 pages into half. Okay, so the half mark will be 250. So we will just pick the page number 250 and we will check that this 250 page number is with us and we are searching for page number 192. That means our required page number is lying at the left part of this middle page. Okay, so we will discard the right part of that book, because that having page number 251 to 500, that is of no use for us. We will be concentrating ourselves on the first half, that is page number 1 to 249. Okay, then again we will make that 250 pages into half. We will get the 125. Okay, now we check that we have to go to page number 192. So the left half is of no use for us. We will be moving to the second half. So using this approach, we make the array in half size. In each step, we make the array size with half. Okay, so if we have 1 lakh elements in a list and we are using a sequential search, then the worst case will be that the element is either not available or it is at the last of the list. So it will take about 1 lakh comparisons in sequential search, while in binary search it will be done in 10 to 15 searches. Okay, how? First we will take the full array that is having 1 lakh elements. We will just make that array into half, but please note the array must be having elements in sorted order. Okay, so we will be making it half. Now we are just left with 50,000 elements. In next half we will be left with 25,000, then 12,500, and just like this we will be minimizing the size of our list and we will search for the required element, and within less than 20 searches we can search the required element if it is present in the list or not. So this binary search approach is very fast. Okay, so let's discuss the iterative approach first. So we will input the list using eval function of Python. We will also input the number that is to be searched. Then as the index of the list starts with 0, so the start value will be 0. The end value will be length of list. Now we will go to the iteration part. So this start indicates the beginning of the list and end indicates the last of the list. So we are moving in this array and the condition is start is less than end. Okay, so start should always be less than end. So this is the condition. So what will happen is start will be at the starting position, end will be at the last position. They will be coming towards each other in every step because we are making the size half. So either start or end, they will start coming towards each other, and at a particular point they will be coinciding with each other, and after that end will cross that start position and it will get the value less than start. So at that point we should stop. Okay, because if end crosses that start, that means you have reached to the means your list is exhausted. There is no more element in the list. You have no more comparisons to make. So this is the condition that you should stop. When start, you should stop when end is less than start, and you should also check that this end should also be greater than equal to 0. Okay, if end is less than 0, that means you you have finished the list, there are no more elements in the list to search. Okay, so that you will come to this stage when your element is not found in the list. So the first step is you take the mid, that is the main approach of binary search. Mid is equal to start plus end, floor division 2. That's how you get the integer mid portion. Then you check if the middle element, because in binary search all the comparisons are done on the middle element. So if the middle element is greater than the element you are searching, okay, so that means your element that you are searching is on the left side of the middle element. If the middle element is less than key, that means your element that you are searching is at the the right side of the middle element. So you will be taking the right part, that in the second part of array. In the first case you will be taking the first part of the array. So the start and end will try to come closer to each other. So if you are working on the first half, then the end will come to the mid portion. Otherwise, in the second case, the start will go to the mid plus 1 position. Okay, so you will just try to run this loop again and again, and you will be getting you will just cut that list into half in each step, and you will be checking the midpoint. So if you get the midpoint, you compare the midpoint with the element, you print that element has been found and you break out. Okay, and if you just go through this loop and you do not succeed in your search, then you will be using the else portion of this while loop, just printing that element is not found. This program can be done using another approach, just a bit of calculations. That is, you can just write this end is equal to length minus 1. This just write to just 1 minus 1 here, and here you should write mid minus 1. Okay, so 1 minus 1 here and another minus 1 here. The same problem can be solved in that manner also. That thing is displayed in this iterative approach. Okay, why it is done using this iterative approach, that means the recursive approach, because we are doing the same thing, means again we are breaking that array into half again and again and again. So the same problem, means the problem of searching in this a large array is being divided. It can be broken into search in smaller arrays or smaller lists. So this problem of searching in a large list is being broken into a problem of searching that element into a smaller array. That's why this binary search approach can be done using this recursive approach. Okay, so what we have done here is we have just generated a list. We have entered the elements from the user using eval function. Beginning is equal to 0. Here we just put end is equal to length minus 1. Okay, then we just get the element from the user that is to be searched, and then we call the search function, that is b search, means binary search, with the list element, the list of elements, the beginning value, the end value, and the element to be searched. So this main part is very simple. Okay, now we move to the function itself. Here we check if end is greater than equal to big, means unless the two values that are end and beginning they coincide, you keep on searching. What you do is the same thing that you have done in iteration approach. You just get the half beginning plus end upon 2, that is floor division, so that you can get the integer value. You check if the middle element is the one that you are searching, you will print number found. Okay, so this is the base approach. Then you check if the element if the element is greater than the middle element, then you will search in the second half of the array, and otherwise you will check in the first half of the array. So that if you are checking in the second half, your beginning portion becomes mid plus 1 and remains same, whereas if you are searching in the first half of the list, then your end comes to the position at mid minus 1. Okay, so again these processes will be executed again and again until either you find that number at a particular location, or the number is not existing in the list. So there are the two conditions: either you find that number, or you are not finding that number and then returning back. Okay, so this is the approach of binary search using iteration and recursion. Okay, so this is all about this binary search method. You have already learned about the sequential search in class 11. That is very easy, but it takes a lot of time. If you are having a list of less elements, then the sequential search is very good. You can apply it. It is good. But if you are having a large number of elements in your list, okay, then you must go for binary search to avoid that execution time. Okay, so if you are having a list of 1 lakh elements and you are using binary search, you will be able to find your element in less than 20 searches. Okay, so if you say that one search takes 1 second, so you will be able to find your element in less than 20 seconds. But in the case of sequential search, if you are searching in a list of 1 lakh elements, the worst case is you will be taking 1 lakh seconds to search an element if the element is at the last or it is not existing in the list. Okay, so these are the programs that are in your syllabus that can be done using recursion, and I have tried to compare both the approaches so that you get the glimpse of the iteration approach as well as the recursive approach. So both the things are clear to you, and you can also observe the changes in them. Okay, so the code file of both the programs, that means all the programs using iterative approach and the programs using recursive approach, will be available for you in the description section. You can download those files for your practice and try to execute them one by one. And if you are finding it difficult to work with recursion, then you should go to the previous theoretical lessons where we have discussed the approach of recursion in detail in our 2 video lessons. First one having a brief introduction of recursion, and the second one we have discussed the background working of recursion in detail with examples, working examples. And we have also compared the approaches of recursion versus iteration theoretically. Okay, and in this session we have discussed the programmatic approach to the problems that are in your syllabus, concentrating on both iterative approach as well as recursive approach. Okay, so if you have covered all these lessons, the theoretical as well as the practical lessons, I think and I believe that you must be able to understand the concept of recursion, and we will be having a live class of this recursion shortly, and I will be notifying you, so you will be getting notification. If you have subscribed to the channel, you will get live notification whenever we have that live class, and in that live class we will be discussing this whole chapter of recursion, so that you can get the whole idea in just a single class. And we will be discussing this binary search there also, so that you get the clear idea about binary search if you have some doubts till now. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this chapter. In this chapter, the main thing is the practical problems that you will be getting. Theoretical part is very less. The theoretical questions can only be about the comparison between iterative and recursive approach and the basic idea of recursion and its working. But the main part is the programming part. So all the programs of recursion that are in your syllabus have been discussed here, and the files, that the Python files containing the code, will also be shared with you for your help. Okay, so try to focus on this recursion concept, as I have already discussed, that this is a approach that you should first visualize in your mind, then only you will be able to understand the background working of this recursion. Okay, so we will be discussing that background approach in the live session also. So try to attend that lesson and you will be getting the notification from the channel as soon as we get live with the class. Okay, till then practice hard, try to make more and more programs so that your programming foundation becomes concrete and you are comfortable with working in Python. Okay, so see you in the next video lesson.